Today we're going to start. We're going to read the Tiv on this last piece, which he said was a Hakdama. There seems to be some meat over here, so we're going to begin on the top of page Kuf Aleph. Let me just get everything lined up here. Looks pretty good. Perfect. All right. Here we go. Okay. Chazal tiknu shnei mini brachos. There are two different types of brachos. He wants to say shehem berachos brachos hamuros al asiyas v'kiyam mitzvah. He says brachos about the mitzvahs. Brachos ne'amaros al hanos oilam. So this is berachos hanoah. So for example, v'yeshna rabachido be'inyan kavanasam ugavi shachodakim b'vayir. So there's a difference in the kavanah that you have over here, as we are going to explain. So he says, the Kavanah is matbea brachos shayechas b'kol brachos kulam. So the concept of bringing the shefa down from up above in the matbea bracha actually goes on all of these different types. Chutz mishmona asri, with the exception of the shmona asri. So he's mentioning three different types of brachos. So he says that the first two really go in a category together, and the third one does not. Asara brachos, so he says shmona asrei brachos shal tefilas amida sheyesh lechem kavanah cheres. They have different kavanos. V'heina kavanah shal berachos mitzvah. So here we are with the kavanos of mitzvahs. Heina kavanah shal berachos nahenin heim shavim bekavanasim. So the kavanah on these kind of brachos is the same. So he said, bracha berachos amida yesh lechem kavanah cheres. It has a different kavanah. She's repeating here. Asher enim shaychos the berachos mitzvahs and nahenin. So they have kavanos that don't have to do with this. V'ata mevayar rav as a kavanah hashayechas the berachos hanahenin. One second. Okay. So he says, "Hashayech the birchos Nahenin v'hakavanah hashayech the birchos mitzvahs." Let's talk about it. So he said, "V'hine hakavanah sheyesh the kavod the be'ez amiras tevis baruch." So you have it when you start to say the word baruch. You should have this kavanah. He halon, as you're going to explain it. He said, "But tevis baruch." So in that word baruch, he says the kabin. El zivug abba ve'ima nikroim chochma v'bina. So the word baruch represents a yichud, and the asara yitera shvil dokik. And why the word baruch particularly responds this is because there is a very narrow or thin path between them. Shuhu ha'yisod the abba ha'mechabed tamed im yisod the bina. So this is a thin path. He says it's a thin path, and it connects the two yisodos. So because of that thin path that joins them together at the time of their yichud, nimshach shefa dazah. This is what causes shefa, therefore, to come to their anpin. So he said, now the shefa that he receives over there because of this yichud, it causes, gives strength into Zah to be able to move upwards as Mayim Nukvin Abba Ve'ima to the place of Abba Ve'ima. So now you said this one word Baruch, it connected the two, and it allowed the strength of Zer Anpin there to grow to an extent that he grows up to the height of Abba Ve'ima. But the shefa he has to receive it up above. Now he says srichim, to receive the shefa up above at the place of Abba Ve'ima. And it's impossible to actually reach that place unless the shefa comes first. So this shefa, in other words, the shefa, this is the way I understand what he's saying. The shefa that they need to receive is actually at the level of Abba Ve'ima. But in order to be able to get to that place, you need the word Baruch. Let's see, he doesn't say exactly. Let's see. Yuchlu la'alos lamala. So this is the first shefa that they get, that is the ability to be able to rise. Shekol inyan the shefa hazehu kadesh yiyeh lezun koich la'alos. So that's the whole idea. You say the word Baruch, You're putting two and two together, and you're making 4. So now Zun has received this shefa. The shefa Rishon, he calls it. So he says, a Rishon, V'hem kavar alu l'makom Abba v'ima, and now they've reached the level of Abba v'ima. Az heim mekablim b'makom Abba v'ima as a shefa hasheni. Then at that point they get a second shefa. Shuha shefa ha'ikri, which is really the shefa that they need, the root shefa. V'hamiti, he uses 2 words, ikri and amiti. V'hanachon, 3 words. V'hanachon, asher tzrich and the kabel. So this is the shefa that's destined for them. Kedei the kabel is the shefa harishon she'al yadam yuchla hazun la'alus la'abba v'ima. In order to be able to receive what? The shefa harishon, he says, in order to be able to receive that shefa from Abba v'ima, he says, yesh lohorid tekila as a shefa ha'elyon miyisod the Abba ha'nikra baruch. So you have to take, he says more specifically. First he said it was the shvil that tied the two together. He said, what's the shvil? The shvil is the yisod of Abba. So Abba, the yisod of Abba is called baruch. Yisod the Abba anikra baruch. So in the yisod of Abba, now we're identifying it as the word baruch. Yor the shevel of the chesed izah hamaruma is b'tevis atah. So now we see that the shefa is coming down, and this is what brings the shefa from Abba into Ima. And it goes specifically into the shefa into the chesed of Zer Anpin. After Zer Anpin receives that shefa, Yora the shefa miyisod the Abba gam ela teferes the shefa goes also. This is the Seder, he says, to the teferes of Zer Anpin. Haramas b'shem Havaya shal habrachos. So we know that the Havaya goes with what? It goes with Teferes. Teferes is Zer Anpin, and so on and so forth, in the 6 kitzvahs. It goes there secondly. V'achar shahat Teferes dezah kibel es shefa. Now the shefa has come to the Teferes of Zer Anpin as a result of saying the word Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. HaShefa nishbal el hagavura the Zer Anpin. The shefa therefore flows into the gavura Zer Anpin, the merez b'tevis Elokeinu, which is mentioned in the word Elokeinu. So now it's going to where? It's going to the gavura. So he says that nimsa sheseder hagabolos hashefa hu bezeh haseder. So the first is that the shefa now that is being produced goes into the chesed, and then it goes into Teferes, and then it goes to the gavura, which is not the way that we usually hear this. Normally you hear it going right, left, center. Here we see it going right, center, left, across. Shehem tevus ata havaya elokeinu. So now we have those 3 words, and you've brought the shefa into the Chagad of Zer Anpin. So now they had this shefa in their Chagat, B'tevis Ata Hashem Elokeinu, using those words, Ata Hashem Elokeinu, Ata, now, Heim Yikolon La'alos Elabina, they have the power then. So we're talking about the first shefa that comes for the yichud of Abba V'ima through this yisod of Abba. He says this gives them the power to be able to go up to the level of Bina, V'lakal V'sham as a shefa hamite anitzrach alehem, which they need. So then he says like this, this is in other words, their ultimate purpose is to rise up to that level to get that shefa. Now as Zun go up to Bina, because of the shefa that they've received, as Ima Nikras Melech, then this is interesting, Ima now is called a king. Remez shel Tevis Melech. Now this is probably, like in other places, I remember asking Rabbi Mograbi about this a long time ago, sometimes Bina is called as in the male name. So here you see that Bina is called by the name Melech. So he explains in other places that it's because of when the giver, the one who's mashpia, is masculine. So that's Bina's got, I guess she has Abba inside of her. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but he was Ve'ima Nikras Melech. She's not called Melech. But only this when Zun is up there. In other words, they've received the shefa from Bruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu. V'keven she'ein melech nikra melech. So since we see that the melech is not called a melech, ela rak be'esha nimsoim etzlo ha'chaylos asher hu molech alecha, until he has also the chaylos that he's ruling. In other words, he needs an army around him. And b'shum kach gam imach nikras melech, and that's the reason why she's called melech. So she says it like this: rak be'hiyosa hazun etzlo. But that only takes place when she has zun by her. Now, here's an interesting thing: is that he says that they move up. The problem is that we see in other places that the spheros move in tandem, so that if in Mayim Nukvin Zochav and Nuk move up to the level of Abba Ve'ima, what happens to the level of Abba Ve'ima? They're supposed to move up also. So in another place where I seen in this one shir that I was making, it says that there's a bechitzonius and a panemius to the spheros, and he says the only part that moves up is the panemius of the spheros. And when it moves up to the panemius, for example, here, Zun moves up to the panemius of Zun moves up to the level of the chitzonius of Abba Ve'ima. Then the chitzonius of Abba Ve'ima becomes a panemius because it now has this chitzonius. The panemius of the lower becomes the chitzonius of the other. It's like an opposite thing. So that's how it is. So this, in fact, causes the panemius of Abba Ve'ima to go up to the level of Arich or Eric Zera of the Kesser. Something like that. It's interesting how that could work. V'gam ima nikras ha'olam. So now ima is also called by the name ha'olam. V'nimsa defizeh she'ima nikras melech ha'olam. So now she's the melech of the universe, of everything. V'az keshazun nimsoim etzel ima. Now they're etzel ima. Heim mekablen lamala es ha'shefer ha'mitech ha'roy lechem. So they're in the position now to be able to receive the shefa that's fit for them, shezehu ikra shefa, because that's the shefa that they need. So if you see the shefa here, he says v'shefa hasheni, that they receive now at this point. Nirmez b'tevis asher kiddushonu. Then you start seeing it in the rest of the bracha. So he says, let's look at it. Let's see what we talk about. Now this shefa is, he says, merumas in these words. Tevis asher romezes al bina shehishpia shehashefa yotze miyisod de bina b'sod haleda. So now he says, when you say the word asher, this is already starting the ball rolling into shehashefa yotze miyisod de bina. So now the shefa is now coming out and is being born out into them. B'tevis kiddushana romez shahatferes dezah mekabel the shefa. Now he's not really telling you the quality of what the shefa is. The panemius of the shefa is just telling you the process. So b'teva b'mitzvaysev ramas shefa yored u'magia gam lenetzach and hod. So it reads that the mitzvaysev is plural, I guess, and so it refers to netzach and hod. But sivana, then you get to the word sivano, is the yisod. It's reaching the level of the yisod. So all of these are bringing the shefa downwards. But sivana ramas shefa magia ad gam ad yisod. So now he said, "Va'achar kach k'shemesayim benusach tishlom habracha." So now you're going to finish the bracha. Come over, for example, Bari Priya 8, or Bari Priya Geffen. He said, "V'chein hanusach shall call siyam habrachos." So all the siyam of all of the, whatever brachos you're talking about, that's where we're at. But teva shall sof habracha romul shall shefa. So these final words here. It magia mehazal lenukva. So the concept is really bringing the shefa into Zeranpin and then spreading the shefa to the nukva hanikras malchus. B'seder hagavana shel shnei mini shefa. So the order of the shefa here that we're talking about, the hainu shefa la'alos laman. So the first one is the shefa that is needed to go upwards. The shefa shel kabbalas amochan de gadlos. Who shaykh b'kol tefilos. So the shefa that's coming for the mochan the godless, I guess this is what we're talking about. Asher shaykh b'kol tefilos, which is really in all tefilos. B'kol mini avodah she'ovdim as Hashem Yisbarach, and all the different kinds of service that we do. So v'keven shazechu yisod godol b'derech kol hagavano. So this, since it's a very fundamental principle, b'kol chamshachos shel hashefa. So all of the chamshach of this shefa, Shaha echad hu la'olam. Let me see. Laman. Sorry, a misprint there. Shaha echad hu la'alos man. The one is to bring up the man. V'asheni the hamshak b'sham is the shefa, the rois, and then the second kavanah here is to bring down the shefa. That's the proper shefa. And I guess we're in the middle of this, and there is more arichos on this. This is it.